Welcome to whofooadventures. After reading Dr. Neal Barnard's book, Power Foods for the Brain, he challenged me to look at the toxicity of the metals in my mouth. I saw a biological dentist and had them all removed and had my root canals cleaned up, and I've seen so much more strength and health. I also was challenged about the pots and pans that we use, that we cook in day after day, that release a lot of toxics. And so we switched over to what he recommended, which was the Salad Master cookware. That has brought so much more flavor into our food, and we use less water and less time cooking them.
After I read Neal Barnard's book on the cheese trap, he exploded the myth that cheese is a health food.
Yeah.
And then I read his book, Program for Reversing Diabetes, and I learned that insulin resistance is caused by high fat.
Wow.
Wow, it was amazing. I really appreciate his heart in educating his patients on healthy eating and treating their disease by a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet when possible, and educating doctors in treating their patients as well. So check out this video. I think you'll really enjoy listening to him. It was our first time hearing him live.
Yep.
Colin Campbell, Dr. Michael Clapper, Dr. Neal Barnard, and Brenda Davis. Come on up. I'm going to start with Dr. Neal. I joke that he's a slacker, but he's not. Okay. You've written, is it only 18 books?
Something like that, yes.
Yeah. Slacker. He's got a new book called The Vegan Starter Kit. And he also has written Dr. Neal Barnard's Program for Reversing Diabetes, the Get Healthy Go Vegan Cookbook, the Cheese Trap, Power Foods for the Brain, and you also founded this little thing called the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. In his free time. You've also testified before Congress. Tell us what you're going to be teaching.
Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, we're going to talk about Mediterranean diets, because everybody gets a question, how about if I don't go vegan, I just do Mediterranean? And so we're going to talk about the good or the not so hot about that diet. And then later in the day, I'm talking about cheese, everybody's favorite addiction. And in the evening, we're talking about brain health. And Tuesday morning, I'm talking about diabetes, just before everybody goes into Jamaica. I'm going to try to be really quick because I know the fire drill is the highlight of the cruise. I love it every year. This is not true. It used to be an easy question, like, what's for lunch? And you think, well, it's just what I like. But then you discover there's more to it, like the foods you eat also affect your heart. And maybe they affect your brain, and they affect your digestive tract, and they affect your pancreas, and they affect your private parts, and they even affect your muscles and your athletic activity. And so what we're choosing for lunch affects all these things. And then somebody says, well, wait a minute, it affects him too. And it affects him too, or her. And then, oh, what about them? Oh, yes, it affects all these things. And pretty soon you're going to discover that we're being sucked into a black hole where a simple question like, what's for lunch, becomes impactful in all these different realms. And, you know, when I go home to Fargo, North Dakota, which is where I grew up, anybody been there? Seen the movie, right? That's my mom in that movie. On the outskirts of town, this is what we see, this beautiful corn, all genetically engineered, so it's perfectly identical, and no human is going to eat one ear of corn. It's all for cows and pigs and chickens. And to raise that corn, they need irrigation, a lot of it. They need fertilizer, and they need pesticides. And then the water carries the fertilizer and pesticides into the streams and then into the rivers, and it all flushes down toward Texas and Louisiana. And we now have algae that grow up as a result of all that fertilizer, then die off. And it sucks all the oxygen out of the water. We have a dead zone as big as the state of New Jersey in the Gulf of Mexico. And all this relates to what's for lunch. And then, of course, as you know, cows are as big as a sofa, and each one is belching methane all day long, and methane is a powerful greenhouse gas. And so if we take them off our plate, maybe we're making a big decision for the environment in a really good way. So it turns out that we're affecting the planet with every meal that we are eating. And my hope is that the cruise allows us to open up our eyes in this in a big way. But it's not just the United States or Canada or North America in general. This is also true in many other countries. In India, a traditional, beautiful plant-based diet filled with wonderful foods is being replaced as the country is westernizing very heavily. Now we see to be vegetarian is kind of old-fashioned, and to be non-vegetarian is to be modern. And so our group, the Physicians Committee, has been sending, this is Dr. Jim Loomis and Dr. Zishan Ali, who have been touring all around India to encourage people to go back to a plant-based diet. Instead of westernizing, we want to easternize, and they're getting huge audiences, I'm happy to tell you. And the problem is not just in India, let me show you this. Bollywood stars are jumping in. It used to be nobody could be against dairy. In the United States, you could talk about that. In India, it was totally off the table. But this is Malika Sherawat, who's a huge Bollywood star who did a little video.
Hello, I'm Malika Sherawat for Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. There are more than 72 million cases of diabetes in India, and more than 42 million go unreported. But there is a way to fight diabetes and heart diseases by making conscious food choices, by focusing more on plant-based products, plant-based foods like green leafy vegetables, fruits, grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, and by avoiding animal products. I believe a plant-based prescription is a prescription for a healthy India. Go vegan for someone you love today. Who will you go vegan for?
Thank you. The same has been true in China. As China becomes more affluent, meat is increasing dramatically, as is heart disease, diabetes, and obesity, and certain cancers. So we have been sending our doctors to China and having huge crowds as well. So just as in the United States and elsewhere, we're seeing this we're starting to tip things in a much, much healthier direction. We've got a long ways to go, but we're making progress, which is a great thing to do, I'm happy to say. So these are all the cities where we've been giving lectures over the past few years, 146 cities, lots more to do. The last thing I want to talk about just really quickly is politics. Every 5 years, the US government changes the dietary guidelines for Americans. In 2009, we proposed this diagram to the US government, saying there shouldn't be a meat group or a dairy group, there should be these healthy for food groups. We didn't hear back from them. So we sued the US government in 2009 simply to compel response. And in 2011, this is what the US government came up with. I'm not taking any credit for it, but it is kind of similar to what we said. There's a protein group, which could include meat, but it could be also beans and tofu and nuts and other high protein foods. And there's a dairy group, but to their credit, they said soy milk counts. So not perfect, but we're making progress. And in 2020, it will all be redone again. And here's what's going to happen. At the USDA, we're going to try to get rid of the protein group and the dairy group. This is the USDA. There will be a microphone in front of an auditorium like this. And a person will come up to address the committee. And she'll say, I'm from the National Dairy Council, and we have a calcium crisis in this country. We need milk in our diet. We need much more milk. Thank you very much. The next person comes. I'm from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. We don't get enough iron. We need red meat. The next person comes up. I'm from the Chocolate Manufacturers Association. We need sweets in our diet. The next person's from the Sugar Association, the Salt Institute. And by the end of the afternoon, the committee is dragged out thinking they've been just pummeled by all these people. Let me invite you. Anybody can speak. You can be a doctor, you can be a dietitian, you can be a teacher who's worried about what you're seeing with kids. You can be a school nurse. You can be anybody who wants to see things change. If you're not a Physicians Committee member, please join. I will let you know when these things happen. We can weigh in, because if we make enough noise, we can change this. It is true. There are huge moneyed interests that want you to think you've got to have meat, you've got to have dairy, you've got to have junk food, you've got to have all these things. But we can make noise like never before, and that is, we show up, we represent, we also use the power of the internet, which we can do. We couldn't do this in the old days. Now, you find a book, you find a video, you find a new recipe, a great new website, you can let everybody know about that. And that allows us, instead of wagging our finger and moralizing, it allows us to really have fun with this. You'll never know how many lives you'll save but it will save millions and millions and millions. Our key is to not be silent. Let's make some noise. Have fun. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to subscribe for more whofoo content, including more videos from our Holistic Holiday at Sea 2019 cruise.